Good morning. I hope you can hear me well. We will just wait 2 more minutes to let all the participants in the room, just to be sure that everyone managed to connect. And then we will start our today's conference. Okay, so I hope that everyone managed to connect. Uh, Good morning. My name is Anna Jaskóła. I am the director of the Association of Municipalities Polish Network Energie Cités. It's my great pleasure to welcome you on today's conference titled From Policy to Practice, Driving Energy Renovation in Central and Eastern Europe. Our conference is organized within the OUR-CEE project, which full title is Overcoming Underperforming Renovation in Central and Eastern Europe. Project is financed from the EUKI program supported by German Federal Ministry of Economic Affairs and Climate Action. Our organization is one of the partners of the consortium of the project, and we have a great pleasure to organize today's conference and to welcome all of you. On today's conference, we will be able to listen to a few of the presentations. The first one, I will have the pleasure to tell you a few words about our association and what we are doing. And after that, our colleague from Energy Policy Group from Romania, Luciana Miu, who is the head of Clean Economy, will present you both the project and also why CEE countries struggle with effective building updates and what we can do differently. After that, we will have the pleasure to hear the presentation from our another partner from the consortium, from Energie Club, and Ilona Sechi will present us lesson learned from Renovate project, how we can break the stagnation. And as a third presentation in the panel, we will have a pleasure to learn about the recommendations for better implementation of EPPD directive and the experience from Persis project. It will be presented by Anna Jurczak from Polish Green Building Council. Next, we will have the opportunity to get know about the experience from the city of Warsaw. The director Marcin Grąski will present us how to effectively implement new energy efficiency regulations in urban context. And also following would be the presentation from our Bulgarian partner. We can hear from Todor Popov about the experience from Gabrovo. And last but not least, we will have the opportunity to get to know about energy classes of building, and Mr. Jan Ruszkowski, the Executive Director of Renovation with Association, will present how to use system of energy classes to develop programs supporting building renovation. While we have the opportunity to listen to the presentations, please put your questions to chat, and each presenter, after each presentation, will have few minutes to answer them, because not all of the presenters are able to stay the whole day with us, so they can answer your questions just after the presentation. So please put all your questions to chat, and then we will be asking them to the presenters. As you probably recognize, our meeting is recorded. After the conference, you will get the email with all the links to both presentations from today's conference, but also to the video that is recorded. Okay, so just to start with the technical part of the presentation, I will tell you few words about our association, who we are, what we are doing. As you already heard, yes, you can see my slides, hopefully. So we have more than 30 years of experience in supporting our Polish municipalities in sustainable energy development, in climate mitigation and adaptation on the local level. We support our municipalities in developing and implementing local energy and climate strategies and related projects. We promote energy efficiency and use of renewables. Our members are municipalities of different size from the whole Poland, both the bigger ones like Warsaw, Bydgoszcz, or Bielsko-Biała, but also a number of smaller ones. Since 2009, we are the supporting organization of Covenant of Mayors. We are also country coordinator of Climate Pact in Poland, and also antenna of Energy Energy Party Advisory Hub. We are supporting our municipalities mostly through the implementation of projects, that both European, international one, but also the national one. We are organizing the series of thematic conferences, seminars, workshops, tours, and we are also providing the knowledge through the exchange of experience, providing the good cases from both the European examples, but also trying to promote our Polish experience to other countries. We are also within the projects, we are publishing the different guidebooks, brochures, and we also have our own website where you can find more of our publications. It's not working. Oh, it is. As you may see, we have the project from different topic and also from different sources, both from Live Project, Horizon, also EUKI, as the one that we have the meeting from today. We also, the project that we are implementing covered various topics. It's focused on integrated urban planning, or energy efficiency in building, energy management in municipalities, development of district heating, alleviating energy poverty, energy communities, climate change adaptation, renewable development of energy education. So as you may see, our association focus on different topics, and that's why we are trying to support our Polish municipality on a very wide issue. If you would be interested in any of the project, of course, you can or have a look on our website, or you can contact colleagues from our association, and then we can provide you more information. As I mentioned before, our organization organizing different conference, seminars, workshops, but also study visits for our members, municipalities. We are also paying attention on the communication with citizens. So we are also supporting our members with that kind of transferring the knowledge to citizens, both through the Climate Pact, but also within different projects. And we also promote our members' activities through preparing the different videos and publications just to promote what they are doing and also to share their experience. You can find the more information about our association and what we are doing on our website, but also on different websites that are developed through the project that we are implementing. Thank you. That's from my side, what our association is doing, and as you can see, we pay huge attention to all the issue focus on energy efficiency, energy saving, and that's why also we are the member of the consortium of the project from which today's conference is organized. That's all from my side. I will pass the floor to Izabela Kuśnierz, who is the project manager in our association. She's also the project manager of our CEE project, and she will be moderating today's conference. So, Izabela, the floor is yours, and if I have forgotten any technical issues, you can also add some point. Thank you, and have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anna, for this introduction. I believe every technical issue was mentioned, but if any participants will have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat, whether it will be about technical issues or the directly question to our speakers of today's event. Yes, I'm very happy to moderate today's conference, so let's begin. Our first speaker, as it was already mentioned, is Luciana Miu from Energy Policy Group in Romania, which is the coordinator of our CEE project. Luciana will talk today about why building renovation in our region in Central and Eastern Europe very often don't deliver the expected results when it comes to, for example, energy savings, and what could be done differently. I believe this is a great the great opportunity to open today's discussion and understand the bigger picture of underperformed renovations. So, Luciana, go ahead.
Thanks very much, Izabela. I'm just going to put this into full screen, and please do let me know if for any reason you can't see that. But thanks very much for the introduction, and thank you everyone for being here. I know it's summer holidays time, so we appreciate you taking the time to listen into this online conference, which thematically is looking at renovations, but not just. It's the idea also of renovations that have impact, that deliver on energy performance benefits and energy savings. And I'll take you through the OUR-CEE project, which has been mentioned before, and some of the main findings of it on how to break the cycle of underperforming renovations in Central and Eastern Europe. So it's a very brief and high-level agenda. I'll start by taking you through a bit about the project and then try to answer two main questions, which I hope can also serve as food for thought and for further discussion in this online conference as well as outside of it. The first one is, why do CEE countries, Central and Eastern European countries, struggle with the idea of effective renovations and effective building upgrades? And second question, what can we do differently to overcome these struggles? So kicking us off with the OUR-CEE project, which stands for Overcoming Underperforming Renovations in Central and Eastern Europe, which turned into a very fun acronym, OUR-CEE. The main aim of the project is to address the issue of underperforming renovations. And now there's no standard definition of underperforming renovations, but broadly here we're referring to renovations which do not lead to an adequate energy performance improvement or which do not achieve the energy savings that were forecasted before the renovation was completed. So generally we're looking at renovations that lead to lower than expected energy savings. And having these renovations underperform on a wider basis risks growing a gap, a performance gap between the targets that the countries have set themselves for building energy efficiency and the reality of how this building stock is actually performing on the ground. So this so-called performance gap also has no standard definition, but it's basically a calculated gap between the expected and actual performance in terms of energy consumption. It's usually a reflection of initial overprediction of what energy savings can be achieved in a particular renovation or upgrade, but it can also be driven by other factors like suboptimal execution of the renovation, as well as post-renovation user behavior that might lead to a rebound effect whereby more energy is actually consumed following a renovation. So the energy savings achieved are actually less than predicted if it's to be assumed that the user behavior doesn't change. So there's a variety of factors. There's still no real consensus on defining a performance gap, defining an underperforming renovation. And this is something that sort of came out as a key initial finding in the project, is that this is an often overlooked issue. And as a result, there's little consensus or standardization in what this means and how it should be treated as a problem. The main objectives of the project, which covers 4 countries, Romania, Bulgaria, Poland, and Croatia, with one partner from each. There's 4 main objectives. The first one is to improve the knowledge base. So actually look at what is the status of renovations and their underperformance in the 4 partner countries. So it started with a research output whereby partners conducted a series of studies. And then moving on to, all right, if we know what is the magnitude of the problem in the partner countries, what are potential solutions for renovations that have been completed but have been shown to be underperforming? So that is the second objective of the project, is actually propose solutions for improving the already renovated building by further upgrades. The third objective is probably one of the most important ones. It's to increase capacity and improve knowledge amongst key stakeholders, because beyond the solutions that we propose in this project, we want stakeholders across the construction supply chain and renovation supply chain to be well equipped to ensure that underperforming renovations are not a problem in the future, that we don't have to then go back and close the performance gap. Especially on public buildings where a lot of the renovations tend to be conducted with public funding. This also has implications for the efficiency of public spending on renovation projects. And last but not least, it's raising public awareness. So we also have communication and dissemination activities throughout the project to, again, raise awareness of the issue of underperforming renovations and what can be done about it. This is both targeted communication to specific stakeholders as well as wider public communication at European level as well as at national level. So concretely, the project outcomes, I think I've briefly mentioned these already in the previous slide, but just to make it very concrete for you, the first output on improved understanding, which is the research output that I mentioned before, led to one national assessment report for each country, as well as a regional report that looked at common drivers behind underperforming renovations in partner countries, as well as from other countries in the region that were not covered directly in this project. All of these can be found on the OUR-CEE website, which I've provided the link to in the last slide of this presentation. And these were quite in-depth reports. They were based on desk research as well as on interviews with experts and stakeholders from within each partner country. And the research was subsequently also validated with key stakeholders from each partner country, including national policymakers. Then moving on, our Bulgarian partners NFX developed a methodology for developing so-called building renovation roadmaps. So each partner in each partner country selected 3 public buildings which had been renovated, but which could benefit from further upgrades in the renovation because the energy performance resulting after the renovation was not necessarily as expected. So these were developed for 3 target buildings in each country. They're quite in-depth, quite comprehensive, based on energy audits, and they provide information not just about the renovation steps that can be further taken to get that building to the best in class that it could be, but also potential sources of funding and things to consider when procuring renovation services as well as materials, and other useful information for local authorities mainly to be able to undertake further renovations and upgrades on these buildings. The funding piece is actually quite important because when conducting a renovation for a public building, often with public funding, the expectation is that once the building has been renovated, that the funding has been spent, the renovation has been completed, and the expectation is that the expected energy performance has been achieved. But if the renovation underperforms, is it going to be as straightforward to get funding to improve that renovation, to conduct further upgrades? Probably not. So this was one important thing that we asked our partners to look at in the project, was not just what further steps need to be taken, but how to navigate an already constrained funding environment to improve renovations that have underperformed. So this is again linked to how to efficiently spend public money or leverage private funding as well to improve upon already completed renovations. On output 3, as I mentioned previously, it's all about capacity building and knowledge exchange. So there's a variety of events that partners have organized, ranging from renovation trainings, knowledge exchange events in person, online conferences such as this one, as well as a recently conducted study trip to Hamburg in Germany, where project partners as well as stakeholders from each partner country traveled to Hamburg to look at best practice case studies for efficient renovation of buildings. And I'm sure that our colleagues at PNEC who coordinated the study trip are happy to answer questions about the outcomes of that. Unfortunately, I was not able to attend, but I did hear it was very, very informative. And such study trips are quite good activities to be able to show stakeholders, particularly policymakers, how this can be done on the ground. It's easy to talk in theory about what can be done, to have a list of renovation steps in a roadmap, but actually seeing it implemented in practice always carries more weight. So this was a big part of our capacity building activities. And as mentioned, the final output is on communication and dissemination. It's very early to say this, but there will be a final conference of the OUR-CEE project as well, likely in March 2026, which will pull together all of the findings of this project and will be held in Bucharest, Romania. So if you're interested in this project, do keep an eye out for news on that later in the fall. Okay, so moving on to the first key question, why do CEE countries struggle so much with effective building upgrades? Because as our research shows, they do. It is quite a significant struggle. So there are some common challenges and some common reasons why the Central and Eastern European region generally lags in the renovation of public buildings. They're not listed here, but I'll go through them. Even though they're quite well known, I think they always bear repeating. The first is that the building stock is quite old, so a lot of it was built between the 1940s and the 1990s, and in many cases with outdated technologies, which lead to energy efficiency issues today. This overall energy efficiency is manifested in terms of energy consumption. So countries, for example, like Croatia or Poland, they generally have a higher average energy consumption of buildings than the EU average. While other countries have a lower energy consumption than the EU average, they do have high energy poverty rates, and it's not clear if this lower than average energy consumption is maybe driven by intentional underconsumption due to high energy bills, or also by poor reporting, because one of the things that we found in this project was that across pretty much all of the partner countries, there was an issue with monitoring and reporting of building performance data. And last but not least, there is an overall, transition challenge, and that Central and Eastern European countries in general are slower than other European countries to adopt renewable energy solutions and phase out fossil fuels, especially when it comes to heating, which is the largest energy consumer in the building stock. Now, beyond these common challenges, the initial research in this project identified, through the work that the partners did, identified some sort of key challenges in each of the partner countries. So In Bulgaria, there's generally a low ambition in energy renovation for public buildings, and procurement of renovation services tends to be done based on lowest cost rather than on depth of renovation and forecasted energy savings, as well as overall quality of the renovation. And future upgrades of public buildings are seen as not financially feasible. And this creates a lock-in effect whereby if a renovation has been completed, even if it's underperforming, it is very difficult to do future upgrades. In Croatia, as of 2024, less than 10% of public buildings had been renovated, and they can also underperform, but because they have been marked as completed for renovation, they're dismissed from further action. In Poland, public buildings generate limited energy savings, excuse me for the cough, and the payback times can be very long, up to 65 years. There's also limited municipal capacity, so institutional capacities within local authorities to plan, implement, finance, and monitor, crucially, deep renovation. And last but not least, in Romania, there's generally low capacity and leadership in public institutions at national and also local level for really aiming high when it comes to renovation of public buildings. And there is a pervasive lack of data on buildings and their energy use, as well as the status of their renovation or upgrade. So underperforming renovations are driven by several risks here. I'm so sorry for the cough. So there are some obvious barriers that pose, that create a risk that renovations will underperform that are not just unique to the Central and Eastern European region. And these are, for example, financial barriers. So deep renovations, high-performing renovations tend to have high costs associated, and efforts in improving renovation tend to be fragmented across the supply chain. So there's relatively uncoordinated action when it comes to setting targets and ambitions for improving renovation performance. And there's a couple of other drivers and challenges that I wanted to highlight here, which emerge quite strongly in the CEE region specifically. The first one is on policy enforcement. So the EU has come out with policy portfolios to improve renovation rates and depth. However, how these policies are transposed and then implemented in Central and Eastern European countries depends very much on the institutional capacity and the overall level of climate ambition, both of which tend to be lower than in Western Europe. Another barrier, which I mentioned before, is the lack of data. So across the countries, there tends to be more difficult access to information on the building stock and its energy performance. It often tends to be insufficient and outdated. Institutional capacity tends to be more limited, so local authorities face resource constraints as well as a general lack of expertise when it comes to planning, implementing, and monitoring high-performing renovations. This lack of expertise is also manifested in renovation companies. So there are quite a lot of organizations that are doing excellent work in trying to improve these skills. And EFFECT, our Bulgarian partner, is one example. But in general, there's still quite a big gap in terms of the specialized expertise that's often required to deliver high-performing renovation. Lack of awareness should also not be dismissed here as a driver behind underperforming renovations. So in general, there's a poor understanding of how, for example, user behavior affects energy performance, and the crucial need for post-renovation monitoring to make sure that increases in energy consumption due to more lax user behavior does not cancel out some of the energy savings that were enabled by the renovation. And last but absolutely not least, and linked to this need for post-renovation monitoring, is that there are inadequate methods and there's no sort of harmonized expectation for post-renovation monitoring to actually assess progress. And this is even in the case of public building renovations, which have been conducted with public money. At least in Romania, it's actually very difficult to match the spending to an outcome in terms of post-renovation performance. And crucially here, when we talk about post-renovation performance, it's not just an audit immediately after the renovation. It needs to span multiple heating seasons to be able to get a full picture of how the building is performing across seasons and across uses as well. So moving on to some of the solutions that we found could be applicable in this project to the risks and challenges that I've just outlined. So first off, the first part of overcoming an energy performance gap is making sure that there are the systems and capacity in place to avoid them happening in the first place. So this means ensuring that when public building renovations are planned, that they can be delivered to the expected standard of energy performance and the expected energy saving. And this will require interventions across planning, execution, and post-renovation stages. And institutional and professional capacity building must be an integral part of that, as well as public awareness and regulatory and financial incentives that more clearly tie the post-renovation performance to the funding that's being made available for that renovation. And I know I've stressed this already a few times, but it bears repeating on the post-renovation monitoring. This will be essential to overcome behavioral inefficiencies, plan and improve any future upgrades as necessary, and ensure that public funding is spent effectively. And especially in Central and Eastern European countries where the fiscal space tends to be quite constrained, this is going to be a crucial element of scrutinizing the spending of public funding. So overall, this is how to ensure that underperforming renovations become a thing of the past. But also, we do have renovations which have already been completed and which may not be performing up to standard. And for this, the solution that we proposed and tested in this project was building renovation roadmaps. On the left and right, you can see just two examples of what they look like for a Romanian building and for a Bulgarian building. And after site visits and technical assessment, as well as conversations with the building owners and users, the partners and their technical subcontractors develop these building renovation roadmaps as comprehensive documents, basically instructing local authorities on how to close that performance gap even after renovation has been completed. So each roadmap essentially puts forward a renovation package with sequenced interventions aimed at firstly overcoming the performance gap that had been calculated and further increasing energy performance to achieve a sort of best-in-class A or A+ standard for public buildings within the technical limits that were possible. So it provided technical details on the implementation of each measure, the expected carbon savings, energy savings, in what order the measures would need to be done to be most efficient. It provided an estimation of the investment cost and also crucially the maintenance cost, because even after the sort of capital expenditure on, for example, replacing a heating system, there may be maintenance costs that need to be considered, and it's good for those to be visible from the planning stage of the renovation. And last but not least, a list of the necessary procurements, approvals, and contracts, which is quite useful, especially for buildings that might have a special status where interventions might be limited in terms of permitting, what exactly steps need to be taken for understanding this. So the feedback in general from the local authorities that we worked with was quite good, that these roadmaps were quite useful tools for planning the future work on these buildings. And whether or not they become sort of blueprints for tackling underperforming renovations really depends on how seriously underperforming renovations are taken in the policy frameworks of these countries. And so just lastly, to wrap up, where next, the main recommendations that we provide from this project are broken down into 4 categories, many of which I've already covered. But the first one is regulation and financing. So policy needs to be more ambitious on the rates and depth of renovations. Requirements should be tightened on building owners for reporting their building data and their energy performance, so we can have an accurate image of the situation in Central and Eastern European countries and be able to target interventions, start with low-hanging fruit and areas where intervention can be done effectively, and condition the disbursement of public funding for renovations on actual achieved energy performance after renovation. Monitoring and data, last time I go over this, I promise, require that building owners do conduct post-renovation monitoring of energy performance and plan for behavioral interventions to make sure that the performance gap does not widen after the users begin using their newly renovated building, and develop national databases that reflect the real-world outcomes of public building renovations. On capacity building, we still have a gap which needs to be covered by training the stakeholders, crucially the owners of public buildings and local governments, as well as energy renovation professionals, to make sure that the renovation works themselves are executed in a high-quality way. And finally, knowledge exchange. So we found it very useful to bring together stakeholders from across the region and the knowledge exchange activities within this project. And this should become an integral part of the renovation journey in CEE to highlight common barriers and solutions, exchange best practices, and cooperate in projects such like this, as well as learning from best practice cities and countries on how to actually achieve high-performing renovation. That is it from me. Here you have the website of the project, where, as mentioned, you can find the national assessment reports and the building renovation roadmaps, both in English as well as in the languages of the partner countries. I do invite you to take a look at them, but for now I will stop here and happy to take any questions. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Luciana, for this, I believe, clear overview. To our today's audience. It's a strong message, and maybe for some also reminded that if we want better renovation results in our countries, in our region, we need to think beyond this technical side, beyond the documentation. We need to look at the monitoring process. I believe it's a very, very important recommendation for all of involved in renovation projects. And also we need to focus on the knowledge, capacity building, and also the side of users of the buildings. Behavior will really affect how the energy performance of the buildings will look like. So this is very this aspect are very nice to note. I cannot see any questions on the chat, but I'm very encouraging each of the participants if you're thinking that you need more information about some aspects that Luciana mentioned in the presentation, feel free to ask in the chat. But I have my question to you, Luciana. In your view, basing on your experience, basing on the experience of your organization, what are the most important changes when it comes to regulations and policies that we need to implement or develop to overcome the barriers that are stopping effective building renovations? And as a next question is how the realistic is to make these changes in the next maybe 1-2 years in the short term.
Yeah, thanks a lot for that. So I think one of the first ones, which is already going to happen because of EU obligations, is the development of the national building renovation roadmaps, which are going to replace the long-term renovation strategies already developed across European member states. And for me, this is a great opportunity to put forward plans that are robust and data-driven. How easy it will be to do this across the next 1 to 2 years, I think it will be quite challenging because of one of the challenges that was highlighted in this project, which was the lack of centralized data in some of the partner countries, which made it difficult even for us as researchers, as partner organizations, to get an accurate understanding of the scale of the problem of underperforming renovations. So I think this is something that will need to be tackled as a coordinated effort between national policymakers, between competent authorities, with a lot of involvement from local authorities as well, to be able to provide that data and to be able to develop plans that also come with a clear strategy for targeting the worst performing buildings. In the revised Energy Performance of Buildings Directive, there's already an obligation on member states to target a certain percentage of these worst performing public buildings and to improve their performance by 2030 and 2033. And it's a not insignificant share of public buildings. There will be some exemptions for sort of historic buildings and so on, but it will still be a pretty important effort to actually do the renovations. And you need to start with actually accurately identifying these worst performing buildings and implementing renovations that, when completed, will lead to the best energy performance possible, so that you then don't have to go back and fix any performance gaps in the future. So this will be crucial, this data-driven road mapping. Something else that I think I'm optimistic that it can be implemented in the next few years, because there's already good practice examples from other countries, and that's to condition the funding on the actual energy performance post-renovation. So there are a variety of ways that this can be done, but I think dispersing public funding for renovation without then having an indication of the achievement of that renovation is a road to disaster when it comes to actually monitoring the fulfilling of targets for building energy efficiency. So I think that's definitely something to look at, is going forward, funding dispersed for renovating public buildings has a conditionality on a certain energy performance post-renovation. And this would come obviously with a requirement to undertake post-renovation monitoring, data from which should be made available and should be accessible at a centralized level and well organized to be able to do targeted interventions in certain regions or cities. And the last thing I think I would mention here is the skills development. So I think it doesn't get overlooked, but I think it comes as, you know, sort of an afterthought after setting the targets and making the funding available. It's really investing in skills in the renovation supply chain. And here, I think local authorities are a really important stakeholder, where more resource and knowledge needs to be made available so that they can plan and implement high-performing renovations. So it's not just about, you know, the renovation companies. Like, absolutely, like, skills do need to be improved there on how to work more efficiently with low-carbon materials and how to conduct energy renovations that are sort of A to A+. But equally, the public bodies that are planning and funding these renovations should also know what to look for when it comes to post-renovation energy performance and high-performing renovations. So yeah, I think those would be the sort of four main things. So have a data-driven roadmap for renovations to know where to start and what issues you're trying to target. Condition public funding on energy performance, which is linked to requirements to conduct and make available post-renovation monitoring data, and invest in skills development across the supply chain.
Great, thank you, Luciana, for all these examples. So we'll keep our fingers crossed that also the member states, in the whole European Union will be able to have this regulations from the directive on time, and that the data will be available to all. I believe this is also very, very important.
Yeah.
Thanks again for your presentation and for these answers. And now it's the time for our next speaker of today's conference. This time it's Ilona Fiszti from Energie in Hungary. She will share today the lessons from Renovate project, which is implemented especially in Albania and Kosovo. And she will show today how we could overcome the barriers that are slowing down the renovations on site. I believe it's a very valuable example how cross-country experience can help us, all of us involved in the renovation project, move forward. I'm very curious about what we can hear from you, Ilona, so the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Welcome, everybody. I share my screen about the, sorry, not that one. So hopefully you could see it in presentation mode.
Yes, we can.
So my presentation is about Albania and Kosovo. We examined the energy efficiency situation in these two countries and made recommendations how to improve it. Energie Club, my organization, it is 30 years old and non-governmental organization and independent. Our main focus is renewable resources, energy efficiency, climate protection, green transition and energy policies, and we make researches, trainings, awareness raising activities, communication, climate and energy strategies, and we participate in international projects. This Renovate project, in the frame, this examination is done, is funded by EUKI. Our consortium leader is a Polish organization, Wise Europe, and we have a non-governmental organization from Albania, it's Mileo Contact, and two NGOs from Kosovo, it's INDEPT and BGF. And the whole project support the energy efficiency for buildings in Kosovo and Albania. And the Energie Club is responsible for two parts of the project: how to develop the energy performance certificate system in these two countries, and how to support to setting up one-stop shops in Albania and Kosovo, mainly in the two capitals, Pristina and Tirana. And we had two projects former which dealt with these two topics. It was the Cold EPC about developing energy performance certificates, and the RenoHub, which established the first Hungarian one-stop shop. So that is the framework. And now I introduce you the methodology. So we made questionnaires, written questionnaires, and consultation, and we consulted with stakeholders about the energy efficiency situation in Albania and Kosovo. We looked at the EU requirements in these fields. We collected best practices from Europe, and then we made recommendations. And the result, we've written a handbook about energy performance certificate and a handbook about one-stop shops. Then we carry out a 6-module online training about one-stop shops. Then in September will be a study visit in Budapest, where we will show the Albanian and Kosovo colleagues the Hungarian one-stop shop and make presentations about this about one-stop shop. And make some teamwork and group discussion how to set up in Albania and Kosovo one-stop shops. And then comes the action plan with deadlines and stakeholders and responsible person how to launch the OSS system in these two countries. So first, the handbook about energy performance certificate. We made 7 chapters. In the first one, we examined when and for whom are EPCs mandatory. In each chapter, we collected the situation in Albania and Kosovo. Then we looked at the EU requirements in this issue. Then comes best practices, and at the end, recommendations. So the first issue was when and for whom are EPCs mandatory or should be mandatory. The next one is design, scale, and structure of EPCs. Then came the renovation proposals. How deep are these? Then we made recommendation about national database of EPCs. Then about energy experts. Then came the enforcements of implementation of EPCs. And the 7th chapter is other issues such as affordability or the necessary of one-stop shops. And here some points, what is the situation in Albania and Kosovo regarding to the EPCs. In Albania, EPCs are mandatory for new buildings and for buildings undergoing major renovation. The EPCs are customer friendly and transparent, but they don't include kilowatt hour per square meter per year data. There are only basic renovation proposal in EPC, so there's no building renovation passport or something like that, just basic recommendations. There are insufficient number of certified auditors, and they are mainly in the capital, in Tirana, and the control mechanism is random verification by the Agency for Energy Agency. In Kosovo, the situation is worse. So EPCs are not mandatory because the energy efficiency law was not implemented yet. There's no renovation proposal in the planned EPCs. There's insufficient number of certified auditors, and it's a very weak enforcement tradition. So since 2000, many new illegal buildings were built without building permission, and these are as well multifamily houses, so big, not just family houses, but really big condominiums as well. And we collected good examples regarding to EPCs from Europe. Cold EPC project, which developed which suggested a very developed structure of EPCs, a good system of renovation proposals, and a good training structure and training content for energy experts. There's a Hungarian statistical survey about national building stock, how to count the worst performing 15% of the buildings. The Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland has a very good guideline how to advertise, advertise the EPCs or how to the EPC data, how should be in an advertisement. The CrossStat project, which suggested a very good control mechanism. The iBroad project, which was about building renovation passport. And in the Salzburg region in Austria, it's a very good online database system which we could learn from. And the recommendations about EPCs in Albania, because the EPCs are mandatory and are a good, transparent and customer friendly, but they need kilowatt hour per square meter per year data, and as well CO2 and energy saving data. And we suggest them to use more detailed renovation proposals for two levels, cost-effective and deep renovation expectation. In Kosovo, they have to launch a fully operational EPC system with all components and the certificate design based on the H to G scale, and the minimum energy performance standard should be clearly defined as well in new buildings and in major renovations. And common recommendation was to carry out a survey for to both countries to determine the best and the worst performing buildings. They have to increase the number of energy auditors, mainly in the countryside, and they have to introduce a regular mandatory training for EPC assessors. They have to ensure adequate capacity for controlling the EPCs, and they have to develop a national EPC database. And then comes the one-stop shop issue. We have a handbook about it, mainly theoretical, but there are a lot of good examples from Europe as well. So the first chapter is about the one-stop shop concept. What is it, what types they have, what are the EU requirements, and what are the benefits of setting up a one-stop shop for a municipality. The next chapter is about stakeholders and services. The third chapter is about web page, about consultants and reliable professionals. Then comes good example, national good examples and individual. And the fifth chapter is about sustainability, financial sustainability of one-stop shop and business plan. Then comes the situation in Albania or in Kosovo and recommendations. The situation in Albania and Kosovo regarding to one-stop shops. In Albania, there's a community fund for energy efficiency measures. It's from the municipality of Tirana, and it's 50% non-refundable grant. But the public awareness about energy efficiency and long-term benefits of renovation is very low. There are insufficient information about new materials, new technologies, and suppliers, not just in the homeowners, but the professionals haven't got enough information about new technologies, for example. And the energy poverty rate is around 37%. In Kosovo, there are some subsidies for renewable heating and cooling system. The energy poor households, the energy poverty rate is as well very high. So it's more than 30%, and finding qualified professionals could be very challenging. And we collected good examples from Europe. The Irish model is really a best example because here the deep renovation subsidies could be used only through and by the registered one-stop shops, and these registration process is very strict. So here, if you would like to renovate complex or make a complex renovation, you could use only very reliable and very good professional for this works. The French model is excellent because the one-stop shops in French could provide financial support as well. So in France, not just the financial institution and banks could provide renovation support, but the one-stop shops, and these are much better. So they are long-term credit, and the interest rates are very low. The Austrian model is as well a very good example, because all provinces, all 10 provinces have free advice about energy efficiency, but in Vienna, the one-stop shops support much more the homeowners and the condominium managers, and there's a qualities platform which collected all the qualified, reliable professionals. The EU Peers project is it's a new one. It builds a community of one-stop shops, so they could learn from each other, and that is as well a very good example. The RenoHub project, which was a Hungarian project, it developed good awareness raising campaigns and activities, and good training materials for consultants and for professionals. Another good example is Amiestas, which is a one-stop shop in Vilnius in Lithuania, and this is for multifamily houses. And other one is a rural housing program. It's a Hungarian program which is developed by a Hungarian non-governmental organization, Habitat for Humanity, and this is for energy poor households. And then came the recommendation about one-stop shops. So we suggest for Tirana and for Pristina to set up a one-stop shop first in advice model, then set up a website with all information about renovation, so technical, financial, and administrative information. Then start an awareness raising campaign about advantages of renovations and about energy saving tips and promoting one-stop shop. Then it's a key point, a key issue to collect the reliable contractors, and as we think they are not enough, they have to train them regularly about new technologies, about new materials, energy efficiency requirements, and best practices. This OSS should provide services for energy poor households, and they have to secure long-term funding for operation of one-stop shops. It's not easy, but it's crucial. It could be from national or local government, from banks, or from real estate companies, but it's very important to be independent. So a cooperation with building materials companies could be not the best solution. And then some lesson learned from the project, and maybe we could suggest it to other countries. When we mapped the baseline situation, it was crucial, the discussion with local experts, because they know the practical side of energy efficiency and not just the legislation. And in recommendation, it was very important to learn from successful examples, because they work and not just they are not just theoretical. The study visit is a very effective tool, because they could learn from the practical implementation. In action plan, in developing action plan, it's important to to involve actively most of the stakeholders, because every stakeholders have other interests and thoughts, and it's worth to set up and operate an OSS and to finance it because of the high leverage factor. So thank you very much for your attention, and if you have a question, please ask me.
Great, thank you, Ilona, very much for this informative presentation, for your slides. What I understand that even that Albania and Kosovo face different challenges in the building and the energy sector. Both countries need stronger and well-developed system for energy performance certificates, and also this support to develop one-stop shop, right? And this is also the reflection in other Central and Eastern Europe countries, that we see in the project that one-stop shop is really a hot topic now, and it's really needed on site, not only in a big cities, but also on the countryside. So this is something, this is a connection with other countries in our region and in Albania and Kosovo. And I would like also to thank you very much for the slides where you mentioned the good practices. I believe it's very important to go deeper into this projects or initiatives, and it's also the recommendation for our audience to go deeper if you are interested. I personally know most of them, of those projects and initiatives, but some are new for me, so I will be very happy to go through your presentation, through those examples, and learn more about these initiatives. And I'm encouraging also our participants to do the same. I cannot see the question in the chat. Just a reminder, if you would like to ask any question, you can do it anytime during the presentation or during our small conversation after the presentation. So what is wondering me, how the cooperation look like in Albania and Kosovo, how the responsibilities are divided between local, regional, and national authorities, how the implementation of your activities were done in Albania and Kosovo, who is most involved and really willing to act, and maybe who should be more involved to speed up the process of the renovation and develop really good system for energy certificates.
Thank you for the question. I experienced that the local government level is much more motivated in Albania and Kosovo, so they participate in the online training, and very few decision maker from the ministry. And Pristina and Tirana has got subsidies for renovations, so these are not national renovation subsidies, and they are willing to set up one-stop shops. But the national, so we need the national level as well, because to change the EPC system and to set up a national database, or to to train energy experts, the national level decision makers. We need their involvement as well.
So as the same as in other countries, not only local actions are needed, but the local authorities also need the support from the national level to have the not maybe the power, but also the funds to implement the activities. And can you share like at the end one important lesson from your experience in Renovate project that could be applied in other countries in our region? One recommendation.
I think maybe the best way is to learn from best practices, which are working in practice, because every countries are different, the frameworks are different, so theory is not enough. The practical side is very needed. The best practices. I think we can inspire from these best practices. So that's my lesson learned.
Thank you, Ilona. I believe also this conference is the chance to have in one place a lot of best practices to be inspired. So thank you once again, Ilona, for joining us today. Next, we will hear Ms. Anna Jurczak from Polish Green Building Association. She will present key recommendations from PUC project about how to better apply EPBD rules, the rules from this directive in the region. So thank you, Ms. Jurczak, for joining us today, and the floor or the screen is yours.
Okay, so just share my screen first. One second, I will start the presentation. Okay, do you see my presentation? Okay, great.
Yes.
So good afternoon. My name is Anna Jurczak, and I'm project manager in Polish Green Building Council. And I'm here to tell you a few words about the OUR-CEE project that we are part of. This project concerns the EPBD implementation, the recast of the EPBD from last year. And so 4 partners from the Visegrad group, which is Czech Republic, Hungary, Slovakia, and Poland, of course. We joined our forces, and we focused on four main themes of the EPBD, which is the minimum energy performance standards, the financing of energy renovations, information barriers, and life cycle global warming potential. And we created a report which will be published soon with some key recommendations and good examples from the Visegrad group countries. Polish Green Building Council was responsible in the project for the global warming potential in the life cycle of buildings. This was our topic. So here on the slide, you can see what the energy performance of buildings directive says about the life cycle global warming potential. So all the member countries have to ensure that the life cycle global warming potential will be calculated in accordance with Annex 3 to the EPBD and disclosed in the energy performance certificates of the buildings. From beginning of 2028, it will concern all new buildings with the useful floor area larger than 1,000 square meters, and from 2030 for all new buildings. For the calculations of the global warming potential for new buildings, the global warming potential will be communicated as a numeric indicator for each life cycle stage, and it will be expressed in kilograms of CO2 per square meter of useful floor area, calculated over a reference study period of 50 years. The data selection, the scenario definition and calculations should be carried out based on the norm EN 15978. And the scope of building elements and technical equipment should be same as defined in the levels framework for the indicator 1.2. If there are national calculation tools or methodologies that exist or is required for making disclosures or for obtaining building permits, the tool or method can be used to provide the required disclosure. Other calculation tools or methods may be used if they fill the minimum criteria that are established by the levels. So the Commission will be adopting delegated acts in accordance with the Article 32 to amend the annex and to set out a Union's framework for the national calculation of global warming potential with a view to achieve the climate neutrality in 2050. So the first delegated act will be ready and adopted by 31st of December 2025. On this slide, you can see the life cycle of a building, or all the stages of the life cycle. So the calculation process, including the selection of data and scenarios, must comply with the norm, which I mentioned before. And it is performed using the LCA analysis, according to which greenhouse gas emissions are calculated for different phases of the life cycle. So there are 70 or 18 phases, depending on whether we consider the phase D as one phase or two. And they are divided into four main modules, A, B, C, and D. So the A phase is the product and construction stage. Module B is the in-use stage, module C, end of life stage, and D is the beyond life cycle. So here I will give you an overview on the front-runner European countries in terms of implementing the whole life carbon measures in the legislation. So you can see on the graph on the right side that there are 5 countries: Denmark, Finland, France, the Netherlands, and Sweden. And you can see what modules and phases they take into consideration, what modules are requested nationally to be calculated. So scope of life cycle stages varies from country to country, as you can see. In Sweden, it is required to calculate only embodied emissions, but in France and the Netherlands, they have to cover the whole life cycle. But the operational emission is not included in the regulatory instruments that concern the whole life carbon, but in separate regulations. Denmark and Finland, they fall between the two countries, specifying certain modules to be calculated, taking into account operational emissions. In all of the 5 countries, the regulations apply always to new residential and office buildings. In scope of buildings elements, there are foundations, load-bearing structures, ceilings, and facades, which are listed everywhere in each of the country as major contributors to embodied carbon emissions, and are always required to be included in calculations. Internal installations can also produce high level of greenhouse gas emissions, and they are also very often included in the calculations. For the building area that is used as a reference unit for calculating emissions per square meter, it is determined based on different ranges. So the most common is gross floor area. In Finland and France, they use heated or net habitable floor area, but they exclude the dimensions of wall thickness and parts of the buildings maintained at outdoor temperature. What we have to bear in mind is that the gross floor area is not always calculated in the same way in all of the countries. When it comes to databases of emission factors for construction products and processes, they are also different in those 5 countries. They contain impact factor for all materials for which environmental product declarations are not used. The use of product-specific data increases the accuracy of calculations and encourages the selection of materials with relatively low carbon footprints. So it is always best to select the products that have the EPDs, because you can always compare the same materials within the same group and select the one that has the lowest carbon impact. In France and in Sweden, the use of product-specific data is supported by a factor that corrects the default average values. And now I will give you some more detailed information about each of those countries. How do they approach to the global warming potential calculations? So in Denmark, there is a regulation that entered into effect in January 2023. This regulation on mandatory calculation of the climate impact of new buildings applies to all types of buildings that are covered by the existing energy consumption regulation. The buildings that have more than 1,000 square meters have to meet the limits to get the building permit. But for the smaller ones, the calculations must be done. However, they do not have to meet the limits. The life cycle range that is taken into consideration in the calculations is A1 to A3, B4, B6, C3, C4, and D. D is mandatory to be calculated. However, it is not included in the total sum, and the total sum is compared with the limits. So it is calculated, but it does not have to meet the limits. And since its entry into force in 2023, the limit is 12 kilograms CO2 per square meter per year. On this graph on the left, you can see the foreseen limits that will appear in 2025, 2027, and 2029. And you can see that from the 12 kilograms of CO2, they will have to reach 5.8 in 2029. Okay, so France. In France, there is a national law called RE 2020, and it applies to new buildings and those that are designed and developed projects. It was adopted in 2021 and entered into force in 2022. And the calculations must take into consideration all the stages from A to D. And this national law sets mandatory greenhouse gas emission limits divided by operational carbon and embodied carbon. For the operational, the benchmarks and building performance are expressed in kilowatt hours per square meter per year and in kilograms of CO2 per square meter. In terms of embodied carbon, the values are expressed in kilograms of CO2 per square meter. So here you can see two tables. The blue one that concerns the embodied carbon limits and the green one that concerns the operating carbon. And as you can see that from 2022 until 2031, the limits will significantly decrease. So there will have to be introduced different measures or innovations that could support achieving those limits. For the operational carbon, as you can see in the single-family residential buildings, the limit will stay the same. However, in the multifamily residential buildings, the limit will be practically cut by half. So it will also be challenging. In Sweden, the life cycle range that is taken into consideration in the calculations is from A1 to A5. And it is foreseen that in 2027, it will be introduced the other phases of the life cycle, but we still don't know which ones will be included. In terms of environmental data sources, a database of EPDs and generic data is available from the BMWK. It is a national agency, so the data are quite reliable. And the values for the generic data are about 25% higher than the average value calculated for the product group, just to discourage the use of default values and rather encourage using the specific data from EPDs. LCE calculation tool. There is a tool developed by the Swedish Environmental Protection Agency where the LCA can be performed and submitted directly to the BMWK, but it is not obligatory to use it. Other tools and forms also are allowed. The reporting indicator in Sweden is the kilograms of CO2 per square meter per year. When we worked on the OUR-CEE project and when we shared together with our partners what is the situation in the Visegrad Group countries, it turned out that there's no legislation existing, but there are a lot of different projects and initiatives from the market. And I will talk about Poland in this case. So we had this initiative, a project called Building Life, which we started in 2020. And the project is focused on decarbonization of the built environment through development of national decarbonization roadmaps and implementation of different kinds of actions by the industry and governments across the EU countries. So as part of the project, Polish Green Building Council developed a methodology to estimate carbon footprint of buildings. You can see the QR code on the right side of the slide. So feel free to use it and to open the report. It is in English, where you can find a methodology that we propose. The methodology consists of two approaches. One is a simplified method, which we recommend as a starting point for our country. And the second is a full method. And I will briefly discuss both of them in a minute. Here on the slide, you can see what were the not the outcomes, but the key findings based on the results for the various life cycle stages, which we determined for a typical building with an embodied carbon footprint of 900 kilograms of CO2 per square meter. We did this kind of simulation, and the key findings were that the largest share of the building's embodied carbon is accounted for by the modules related to the product stages, which is A1 to A3. So the share of this stage is more than 50%. So this is the potential of decreasing the carbon footprint is in the product stage. The modules that make up the construction stage, which is A4 and A5, contribute to no more than 5% of the embodied carbon. And of that, the road transport of materials within the country is around 1%. It can be assumed that in a typical building, the upfront carbon, which is the modules from A1 to A5, represents around 60% of the embodied carbon. The value, of course, will be lower for buildings of lightweight construction, where a larger share will be represented by elements to be replaced over the considered lifetime of the building, which are finishes and equipment, fixtures and fittings of the facade. For modules B1 to B3, those are related to use, maintenance and repair. There are not many data and studies, but it is probable that the contribution to the whole building is around 1%. For modules B4 and B5, the replacement and refurbishment account for a large share of the embodied carbon, estimated at the level of 35 to 40%, because it is actually also connected with building in new materials, replacing the old ones with new. So this is still connected with the product phase. The end of life stage, which is C1 to C4, mostly contributes to the embodied carbon footprint at the half value specified for modules associated with the construction phase. In typical buildings, the contribution will be around 2%. Okay, so here you can see the main assumptions for the simplified method, which we suggest to be used in our country to begin with something. And the simplified method is focused on phases A1 to A3, which are embodied emissions in the product phase, and of course phase B6, which are operational emissions in use phase. The product phase, as I mentioned, the share is 50%, so it is a very significant contributor to the building's life cycle emissions. And correctly estimating the values for this phase is very important and crucial to the accuracy of the results. The calculation of emissions for these phases is very simple and comes down to summing the emissions for each of the building components that are included in the analysis. A quantitative summary of building materials and equipment should be used for the calculations, as well as averaged, generic, or detailed specific data for products. In the B6 phase, operational emissions should be assumed on the basis of calculations of final energy demand according to the energy performance certificates, the current methodology for the EPCs, depending on the energy carrier that is used in the building. The emission value given as global warming potential must take into account all greenhouse gases and should be determined for 1 year based on the most recent data on the energy carriers used. So that was the simplified method. And now I will give you a few words about the full method that takes into account phases from A1 to A5, from B1 to B4, from C1 to C6, and operational emissions, which are B6. So adding to the simplified method, which is A1 to A3, we add phase A4, which are emissions from the transportation, and they should be calculated based on the monitoring of the distance between the factory and the construction site. The type of transport also should be taken into consideration with the emission factor in kilograms of CO2 per kilogram per kilometer, the weight of the material transported, and the loading degree of the carrier. Phase A5, which covers emissions from the construction process, should be determined by the indicator. Phase B1 includes emissions from building materials and equipment during the life of the building. Emissions related to maintenance and refrigerant leaks from installation and equipment repairs should be included in the calculations. Phase B2 refers to CO2 emissions associated with maintenance of the roof, exterior walls, windows, exterior doors, finishes, and installations. Phase B3 takes into account emissions from all activities related to repairing a building component, including used products. Phase B4, addressing the replacement of building components, is related to the need to assume standard lifetime of building component, installation, or equipment. Phase B6 is, of course, the operational carbon, which should be calculated in the same way as in the simplified method. And to calculate phases C1 and C2 and C3 and C4, emission factors developed at the national level should be used. So what we need to implement the full method to calculate the whole life carbon of buildings, it will require the development of national databases of unit emission factors for construction products, for the equipment and technical systems that include also end-of-life phase, the type of transport of construction products and fuels used, and average transport distances specific to the country, the phase of construction of different types of buildings, taking into account the various energy carriers needed in the construction process to power machinery, the construction facilities, and share of construction waste for each group of materials, and the energy carriers. For now, there is no data, so it is impossible at this stage to use the full method and to calculate all the phases, all the modules that I mentioned. The need to calculate carbon footprint of building raises challenges and requires some certain actions from the construction sector and also from the government. So it is important to make it obligatory to calculate the carbon footprint of building based on the accepted a uniform methodology that would be used by all the stakeholders. And the second is the obligation to carry out the LCA analysis, which would be harmonized with guidelines of existing legislative documents and the EPBD. So these two are crucial. To summarize what I presented you, the EPBD obliges the member states to develop the life cycle global warming potential calculation methodology. The action will be gradual, and it requires overcoming very common difficulties across the EU countries. The transposition of the EPBD is done by developing whole life carbon benchmarks and generating relevant analysis and stakeholder support to establish national whole life carbon methodologies. So here we have the stakeholder engagement that is needed for this. The undisputed value in this process is the experience and lessons learned from the countries that have already implemented relevant measures or have introduced regulations and obliged the building sector to report the whole life carbon. So thank you very much. This is it from my side. If you have any questions, just please write to the organizer, and I will do my best to reach out to Dorota Bartosz, who is our expert and was supposed to present today, and I hope that she can answer the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jurczak, for this detailed and highly technical presentation. Thank you also for joining instead Ms. Bartosz. We will also be happy to forward any questions from the participants to Polish Green Building Council, and also forward the answers to the participants. How I can sum up your presentation? I believe your slides clearly shows why calculating carbon footprint of buildings across their life cycle is really a key for reaching carbon neutrality in Visegrad region, and should be done in different sectors by different actors regarding the implementation of the directive. Yes, I can see the question. All the presentation will be shared with the participants after the event. All registered participants will receive the email with link to get the materials from this conference, which include the presentation and also recording of the video recording of the event. Thank you once again. We truly appreciate this contribution. And now I believe we are ready to move forward to next session of our conference. We heard a lot about the policy, strategies, different approaches in different countries, and it's really time to go to the local level. And I would like to warmly welcome Mr. Marcin Grącki, the Director of Air Protection and Climate Policy Office in Warsaw, capital of Poland. Welcome.
Hi, Isabella. Hello, everyone. Hello, friends.
Thank you for joining us. Mr. Grącki will tell us today about Warsaw Green Building Standard. and how it helps to apply energy efficiency rules in urban projects in Warsaw. I'm very curious about your slides, so I believe we can start.
Thank you so much, Isabella. Just let me know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Okay, and you will be sharing my presentation. Fantastic. So hello, everyone. Once again, I represent City of Warsaw, a capital city of Poland, a leader in many fields, and this is one of the examples why we are very often called as a leaders, and we believe so internally as well. I will be presenting the Green Building Standard, which is a local law applicable to city stakeholders, not to general buildings, but for many city stakeholders, offices, investors, districts, and so on and so forth. And before I jump into the slides, I will just let you know how Warsaw looks like currently. We have over 2 million inhabitants. I mean, officially it's 1.9, but in practice it's over 2 million inhabitants. We do have 18 districts. Each district has its own mayor and district council. We have over 100 city municipal companies, bigger and smaller ones, many schools, many investors, and budget of a small country. So as you can imagine, providing and installing some standards are not a piece of cake. It is very often dependent of many people and many stakeholders. And this Green City, Green Building Standards is one of the examples how we do that, how we implement policies, how we make a step forward as a city. Next slide, please. So what Warsaw Green Building Standard is a set of standards, as already mentioned, applicable for city investments. I mean, incubator investments, buildings of many purposes. It is applicable to schools, theaters, libraries, social buildings, to all buildings that are built for city stakeholders. And because of that, it has to be pretty universal and it has to be pretty flexible. And we think we managed to do so. It is well, there is hundreds of different standards currently on the market. So why we decided to develop another one? Well, the answer is pretty simple. We must take into account not only energy, not only environmental aspects, not only carbon aspect, but also well-being, also social aspects, mobility, electromobility, bicycles, and so on and so forth. So we decided to do a new one, reaching out, of course, to the existing ones and grabbing what's the most effective. At least we thought, and we ended up with tailor-made local municipal applicable standard for for building and investments. Next slide, please. It is a local regulation, as I mentioned, so it is applicable. It's binding for investors from the city and from municipal companies and from districts, which may sound pretty limited, but in practice it means we have 18 districts, 100 different companies working across the city, and currently we have. I didn't make up that data. It is something like 4,000 municipal buildings currently in Warsaw. So it's pretty large scale. And we wanted to be a leader, basically. So we thought, what should be done to ensure that the buildings made by public sector are step forward, step ahead of legislation, and we are a role model for private investors as well. So we can, we practice what we preach, and that's an example. Next slide, please. Why is that so important? Because in Warsaw we collect the data about emissions every 2 years, and almost 80% of the city emissions are building related. It's either about buildings themselves, but also the energy generated and consumed in the building. So that's the sector we have our competences over. It's not an Energie which is state-owned companies, but this is something we can do to make change in the buildings, in the building stock we have and will have as a city. Next slide, please. And of course, it's the first idea of such standard was an outcome of the Warsaw Climate Panel, which was the first in Poland citizen panel. I don't know how familiar are you with the citizen panel idea, but that's how you basically give the decision-making option to the inhabitants of Warsaw, and our mayor said he will implement the set of measures at the end, no matter how difficult they will be and how complicated they will be. And one of 49 recommendation was something about creating a standards for municipal building, and that was the first idea of that. But as I mentioned, we also we plan our climate policy very carefully, and this is one of the way we tackle down emission, and we make green investments. Next slide, please. So I already mentioned that this is a set of requirements for new buildings. It is very important. Now the standard is applicable only for new investments. We are currently working on the new standard for modernization, which is a challenge. Probably we will have two. One for typical modernized building, and the second for treasury building under the supervision of the treasurer, city treasurer. But we now currently working on such document for modernization of buildings, which is a challenge. But this one is for new buildings. It's been signed off by the mayors in September last year. It is now it is binding from July this year, but we currently have number of buildings already checked with the standard and with certificate. What is also very important, we evaluate a project, architectural project, documents, to make that doable and to make things happen. Next slide, please. Yeah, I already mentioned the main goal of that. So, I mean, I at least have many different purposes and goals, but the main one is to tackle down emissions, to make building climate resilient in Warsaw, to make building good for the users and inhabitants. And we as a leader, as a capital city, as a city with many ambition, with a strong leader regarding climate, I wanted to go beyond the current legislation and requirements and do a step forward. But at the same time, we had to make a doable document, So it is not only ambitious; it is also doable and convenient for the architects, projectants, and investors, who are the most important stakeholder in that process. And in the next 5 minutes, I will try to explain why it is ambitious and doable at the same time. Next slide, please. So we had 100 ideas at the very beginning how such standard should look like. If it should be a checklist of the binding requirements, if we maybe the option would be to create some, the points scheme with some threshold you have to get to achieve the standard. Well, there is no simple answer to that. The approach we took was to gather with the same room city investors from different options, from different districts, to gather architects, projectants. We cooperate with the architecture, the SARP, which is I don't know the English name. It's a network of the architects focused on climate in Poland. We cooperated with the Forum Energie, which is one of the biggest NGO regarding buildings, and many stakeholders basically to be on the same page and in this regard to achieve good document. And we ended up with with a cafeteria scheme. As I already mentioned, the standard is applicable for all different types of public buildings. So one document should be applicable, and the way we evaluate a building should be applicable for social housing building, it should be applicable for library, it should be applicable for school, theater, and many different buildings. And that's the reason why we decided to create such cafeteria scheme, which still gives you flexibility, but still highlights the most important factors we would really invite our investors to take care of. We have 6 areas in the standard. As I mentioned at the beginning, it is for health, safety, energy efficiency, greenery, water retention, mobility, and many different areas. And 3 of the areas are the key one. So to be compliant with the standard, you must fill the main, let's say, the main standard, the main factor of the standard, and you can choose 2 from the let's say the pool of the others, and the additional areas you may choose which one you would like to incorporate in your project. Now I noticed that I don't have the list of requirements in my presentation, but don't worry. I think the PNEC team will share some links maybe to the document itself, and they will present what we are talking about. But I have some examples. So next slide, please. Yes, so we have key areas, as I already mentioned. One is, all of them are very important to us. It's greenery, it's water management and energy efficiency, and you have to be compliant with 3 of these. So first is the primary energy demand. So it's a district heating. It's not a simple option here. You have to find out the different way to provide energy to your buildings. Heat pumps, PVs, and other purposes, or hybrid model. And you have to be a bit more ambitious than the regulation, the current regulation in Poland is. The second is water management. So the area here is to manage all stormwater on the plot. So not an easy connection to the pipes, but you have to incorporate the greenery, blue-green infrastructure, other ways to keep water on the ground. And the third is the greenery management. In our case, it is about dividing the different types of greenery on the same on the plot, on the place. So not only grass and some trees, we promote also the mid-size greenery areas, again, I don't know the English name, which in Polish is strefa zamierzonej dzikości, which is a place you don't you don't make any how to say, you don't manage the greenery. You let things happen in that field, and biodiversity loves that. So we promote different types of greenery as a one of the key element. Next slide, please. And we have 3 additional ones, which is mobility. When you can choose 2 of the different options. One is about bicycles, one is about the EV charging stations. It is about providing good infrastructure, but also connection to the public transport. That's one of the requirements that you have to fill. We have an area about the circular economy and building materials and solutions. So this is where we evaluate an effort to at least find out the carbon footprint of materials, for example, or reusing the water inside the building, and that kind of options. And we have health, comfort, and safety. Again, there is one situation where this is mandatory is school buildings. So you have to be mechanical. You have to have mechanical ventilation in a school building. But in other cases, you may choose two from 6 options to fill that field. Next slide, please. The whole process must be very convenient for the investors, so not an architects, projects, engineers, but for decision makers very often. So people in the districts, people like me, I don't have a technical knowledge. I'm a civil servant, and it must be convenient to me to check if things are really happening, and if the company responsible for the project and for the documents filled the requirements. So we leveraged the same scheme that is used in GRE reports. So we connect the requirement, mandatory or to be chosen, with the specific page and specific chapter of the documentation that is provided to the city within the building approval process, which is very convenient and very easy to fill. And I already mentioned at the beginning, we evaluate the building at the documentation phase. So the architect, the company that is providing documents, they already know about standard and about requirements after the procurement process. So this is an annex to the procurement documents currently. So it may be taken into account since the very beginning, since the starting point of the design of the buildings. Why is that so important? Because of the cost management, basically. So if you take additional measures at the very beginning, or you project the building considering that scheme, it is very often it very often don't raise the price, the final capital cost of the building, let's say. Next slide, please. I mean, the whole process have many benefits. I don't want to tell you the obvious ones, but the one, I mean, think about what resonate with the decision maker, with the yearly annual budgeting and capex. It is always cost and economy. So one of the biggest benefit is that the building is cheaper on the OPEX, so it will pay off even if you have to raise capex for 1.5% or so. It will pay off in the coming years. This is number one, but also reducing of other fees, operational costs, or being ready for further investments. So we want to create buildings that even if you initially don't have budget, for example, for photovoltaic installation, then you should design the building on a way that will allow you to install the PVs later on. So the roof is ready for PVs when the money is ready for that investment. This is very important, especially in the local government, because it very often is not taken into account. I mean, we have a number of course, environmental and climate benefits. Next slide, please. So first of all, and super important, is carbon emission or energy efficiency of the building, which is much higher than it's supposed to be without the standard. It is about the climate resilience, so being ready for high temperatures, rainfalls, and other types of climate related and weather related situations. Next slide, please. And the type of benefits that are not so obvious in the very beginning, but are very applicable for the decision makers or politicians. So it's about recognition and social benefits and PR sometimes. Social benefits are, that are pretty obvious. I already mentioned that improvement of life of the workers, of the residents of the buildings, people that works here. we educate the investors, so they see the standard and they now have many options to consider in the investment scheme, even one that they were not familiar with before. So it has a high value on that. But also, the recognition and PR and politics are very important, because every mayor, district mayor would like to have, beautiful photos and article in newspapers that the building they made, the new school, is a top quality building, and they may be the resident of the building, the resident of the district may be very proud of. And we operate in the election cycles, so it helps decision makers to get more friends and more votes if they are doing investments that are top quality and that are green and environment and friendly and easy and health for residents. So this is also very important. It's maybe it's the it's not the more. It's not the purpose of the standard, but it helps, especially talking with the investors. They are they are considering costs. They're thinking of how to be compliant, and sometimes the simple answer is just make an effort, and you will get 5 rewards at the end from different architecture companies. And now I'm in the last section. I would like to brag a bit about the standard and what we have accomplished so far, and how we were appreciated, and tell you a bit about PR and why it's that matter. So next slide, please. Oops, sorry, I missed future plans and challenges. So this is also super important to me, and I believe to you. So the plan is to create the same scheme for modernized, as I already mentioned, which will raise a number of buildings for a couple of or a dozen or 20, 50 every year to hundreds every year that are an object of modernization. That would be a challenge, but there is no other way. And we already know that the level of knowledge and the level of experience it's various in every district. In every every room we enter, we can see that people either are very ambitious and have high qualifications, but very often it's not like that, and we have to be the ones, and we want to be the ones to help them as an internal consulting, as a internal experts. I mean, in-house team that can support our investors. Yeah, and the other plan, and not a challenge, but a plan for us, is to encourage private investors. It doesn't have to be business. It can be, education, building, universities, technical universities, or business to use standard. And there is still a chance to be the first non-city stakeholder and non-city building that received a certificate, that received a standard. And we currently are thinking of how to do that, what are the benefits, how to speak with the investors. Next slide, please. And there I can show you some case studies about standards, some examples of the buildings that are designed or even built in accordance with standards, but also a recognition that we got because of that initiative. And why I'm showing you that, because I know you represent different institutions and different municipalities, and the green city, the green building standard from Warsaw is applicable for your cities as well. And we can help you with that. We can share the knowledge. You can use what we already developed to not reinvent the wheel, to not do the same job again and again, but take our case, leverage, use that. It's free. We can even support you with the communication and with some questions you may have at the end. And this is on the pictures. You can see the first building that The first building that got a certificate, it is a library in BMWK district, made from wood, super energy efficient, super insured with PVs and heat pumps, green area without any walls, without any fences, so you can walk through the whole plot as you want. And it's even more important. It is not only library. It is a place for for the educational purposes. Children spends time there, adults as well. So it's a living, it's a full of life building made in a certain way. And we were cooperating with the architect since the very beginning. So she involved and incorporated many of options that we have, and we paid off. We funded heat pumps for that building because of that. Next slide, please. It's another photo of the library. The building has already won a couple of awards. Even PLGBC, I think. Yes, I have that on the slide. So it's well recognized building and one of the most innovative we have, and we are very proud of it. Next slide, please. We have a Center for Environmental Education, a building of Warsaw City Forests. So a completely new building in Młociny district. It's a north district of Warsaw. The building where thousands of children will have lessons about biodiversity, about climate, about greenery, about trees, about the greenery management, and how city operates. And it also have full spectrum of different options from the cafeteria already there, even dry river, even retention, blue-green infrastructure incorporated. Next slide, please. Yeah, on the pictures you can see the PVs on the roof, the green roof, the dry river here. It is also located in a very green area, without any faces, with many many different options here, heat pumps, batteries, and many technical things. In that context, I can tell you, they before the standard we had some challenge with the water use in the building. So it raised a costs approximately, 1% maybe of the total cost of the building to incorporate solutions that allow this building to be qualified as a green building standard compliant one. And the operational cost of that would pay off in 1 year, I believe so. So it pays off. And sometimes it's about 1% of the initial costs that we have to cover. The next one. Not a typical building, but we and in your cities, it's a common let's say infra element, which is the park and ride, the park and ride place, and they are very often super typical, concrete place when you park your car, forget about it for the rest of the day, and then pick it up at the end of the day. And idea of the Połczyńska is to redesign the current typical park and ride place to a place with greenery, place with batteries, place with PVs, place with benches when you can, during the weekend when the parking is closed, you can use that as a park, as some kind of, green area with water, with management, but also the building for the educational purposes is considered there, with a green roof, with renewables, PVs, and so on and so forth. The whole surface is, the water is able to go through the surface. So that's the way we would like to redesign all of our park and rides, and it is a way to find another purposes of such gray infra areas that we have in our cities. They have certain purpose, but we can find a number of additional benefits, and we can use that in other ways if we consider them not only as a parking but also as an element of the green and blue infrastructure and connections. Next slide, and it will be the last example. I really wanted to show you this small house, which may look like as a typical house somewhere out of the city, but it's a Jazdów, which is a very unique area in the city center of Warsaw. And I I wanted to present you this particular building to say that sometimes it's not about fireworks, about the wooden building with glasses and PVs and heat pumps, tralala. Sometimes it's about keeping the purpose, keeping the initial idea of the building and incorporating the innovative solutions, but not showcasing them. We have heat pump in that building. It's pretty well isolated. We have renewables here, but it is well hidden to keep the the unique vibe of the Jazdów area. And the last two slides, as far as I remember, are to show that you will receive later on the link to the document and to the checklist. But we were the whole idea was super recognized, not only in the PLGBC, type of organizations, but also as a wider innovative solution. And I'm not talking about that because I want to brag again, but I want to invite you to check that document. And even if initially because of my presentation you are not so clear about the benefits, you're not into the idea, check the document and see what the others saw. It's super innovative, it's leverageable, so you can use that in your cases, and it has a super high social aspect as a backbone of the whole idea. Next slide, please. And this is the last one from my presentation. Another reward from Rzeczpospolita reduction as an innovative, let's say, in the municipal area. We currently cooperating with many municipalities, wanted to do the same. So feel free to ask questions. Let me know if you would like to get a document, and I will share the link with the organizers so they can send you after the meeting the more details on the document itself. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for this, I believe, inspiring and also full of concrete presentation, and for sharing the experience of Warsaw. It was really great to see how Warsaw is moving from really ambitious strategies to practical implementation through, for example, this green building standard, and also huge congratulations for all the rewards that you received for the project. I believe that the details and the early results are very promising. We hope that also the future standards for building renovations will be just as successful as this first one, and also that will help the city and the investors to speed up the renovation process, and also make this initiatives much easier to implement. Let me ask you a question about the collaboration process for during the creating the standards. You mentioned that you are working with not only NGOs but also the investors and architects. I'm really wondering how the cooperation looked like, especially with the investors, because I believe there is the group of stakeholders to work with, especially with these standards. They got more obligations to fulfill. So I'm really curious about this cooperation with them.
Yeah, sure, happy to. That was a bumpy road, I would say, not an easiest one in my career because of the number of investors we have, and many of them are very experienced, but many of them are doing investments, feeling only one purpose, not thinking about environment or not thinking about climate, but creating a school, for example, that are good for children, but not so good for the greenery and blue. So we ended up with having, I don't know, over 30 of different investors from Warsaw in a different on the different, let's say, stages of the project development. We answered hundreds of questions and asked hundreds of questions about costs, about what should be done. All in the context of the binding document. So it's not like they can, that they can somehow, skip the green building standard in the investment cycle. No, it has to be done in that manner. So, as I told you, it had to be ambitious but doable. And our ambitions were much higher at the beginning. So we were thinking about more renewables, about greenery, about the stormwater, for example, and many different areas that should be done. But speaking with the investors, speaking with the district investors, speaking with Shorem, which is the city main investor company that represents many different stakeholders. We thought it's much more valuable to have to do smaller steps, but still do steps, than kill the investment cycle and and stop progress with that, because it would be a backlash if we ended up with the super ambition document that will be that will be a bottleneck for all investors in the city, because they're politicians, as I already mentioned, and they would say, we want to make a new school for your residents, but the city office of this and that are stopping us from doing that, and the mayor signed off under that legislation. And this is the reason, and this is our everyday job in the municipality, to find a good balance between two parts of the either political area, like right and left, or with the investors' ambition and practice, and ambition and doable stuff. And I believe that was a success factor of that. So we invested a lot of time, invested a lot of resources, and invested a lot of stress and being out of the comfort zone, speaking with the people, with the practitioners from the city. But at the end, we ended up with the document that they are fine with. They are okay with that. And they also, it has also advantages for them. Like they can say, okay, but please help me with getting money for PVs. Help me with the National Fund donation program to get the money, or give me the money as a treasurer of the city to fill the one of the standards that we have. But also we have the architects and projectants behind the same table, and they are not investors are creating the documents, the architects are, the companies are. So they were also in the process since the very beginning, and it is super important because they read the documentation, they read the standard, and they apply for procurement in Warsaw. So we spoke with them what would be the best way to, and what would be the best moment even to incorporate that standard. And we ended up with the permit, the building permit, let's say, stage. So the document, the checklist, field checklist, is one of the documents they sent to the city applying for the permit. and that's for that reason it's considered on the project level, and they have time to adopt. Even if we give them a negative decision, they can adopt still to some changes in the project before getting permit, which was super important, considering the number of buildings it is used for. So I would say it is one of the examples when you invest a lot, you don't have to, but it pay off in the future, because the document will be a living one, popular one, and people will be focused on the good purposes and not only about the bottlenecks, not only about limitation, not only about problems.
Thank you very much for sharing with us this comment. We wish you good luck in the next in the future work when it comes to, for example, the standard for renovations and with finding the balance between different aspects of working with different stakeholders. Thank you very much once again. And this is now the time to go to Bulgaria from Poland. We have Mr. Todorov Popov from the Municipality of Gabrovo with us today. Welcome, Mr. Popov. He will speak today about the partnerships with the stakeholders in renovation projects from the perspective of Gabrovo. Todor, please begin.
Hello, Isabella. Thank you very much for your invitation to be part of this conference today. And usually I'm not happy to be last because all the audience is already tired. But this time I think that it is something somehow very structural and nice to be last, because what we've seen till now is the policy, the technical, how the decision makers decide what to do, how to implement a different policy. And just a second. And now it's my turn to say, okay, we already see a different approach, different policy project initiatives. Do you see my presentation proper now?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
But all this policy, all these standards, knowledge exchange, good practices, on one hand, they need to be communicated with the citizens and to involve them in all this process. And on the other side, I'm absolutely confident that we are not able to reach any of these policy targets and aims without the citizens' engagement. That's why I'm very happy to be here now and to present the successful stakeholder engagement in our municipality. Of course, I will start with the main idea. As I mentioned, we tried to communicate the policy with the citizens, and in the next slides, I will represent the main level of this communication and how we structure the process with the citizens. But as I mentioned, I'm the last speaker today, and I will start from the backwards. So what we reached till now and what is going to be upgraded and to work on it to be better and better is several initiatives. The Gabrovo municipality is able to pretend to be the pioneering, the leader in the energy efficiency, and in the last 2 years, maybe not just the energy efficiency, but also in the green energy in public sector on the local level. We won in 2021 the European Green Leaf Award organized by the EU Commission. Gabrovo municipality is also part of the Convent of Mayors. That is a very ambitious level to reach the climate neutrality. And of course, now we and Sofia, the capital city, participate in the initiatives for the climate and neutral smart cities by 2030. All this, we need to engage the citizens to be part of our policy, because in our infrastructure, I mean the public building, the street light, for example, some of the services, and we provide and try to reduce the CO2 emissions. As the topic today is the renovation, of course, the main CO2 emissions comes from the households. In Gabrovo and Bulgarian context, this is from the multifamily buildings because they are hardest to be organized and to engage citizens to work together. And why I start with these two pictures? They are from one of the festival, and actually this is something that comes next week in Gabrovo. Because we try and we realize that the policy, just as a policy, is not understandable from the citizens if they are not on their languages, if we have no community to work with and to identify which people are more active and accept the idea and the policies. That's why we try to skip and to break the frame of the strongly administrative process and communication. For example, in Bulgaria, for most of the policy, we need to have the public consultation with the citizens. And of course, in the most cases, this is just the formal process. That's why we try to give a different approach in our engagement of the citizens, exactly through the festivals, different creative forums, where we try to reach our citizens and to see in informal context what's the idea and how to reach this result. What is our engagement model? We try to be more creative, more citizens oriented, and to be connected, because even the best policy, if we have no trust between the local authority and the citizens, the stakeholders, it's hard to be implemented. So we try to engage not just people, not just through the process, but to create the collective understanding of what the final idea and target is. To reach this, we have, let's say, 5 steps. Of course, the first is strategic outreach, or we start informing the people and the citizens when we have any new policy, new targets, new initiatives in very early stage of this policy. After that, we try to do this citizens consultancy, not just as the administrative process, but also like the open dialogue in a different forums, etc. After that, we go to more close meetings and events with the citizens. And of course, the last 2 steps are to activate these people that are ready to act with us. And of course, at the end, to show the result and try to replicate what we've reached. To how we organize all this project, this is not just, as I mentioned, for the renovation, but this is the steps that we follow for the Bulgarian national program for renovation of multi-family buildings, and now for the new program that supported citizens to renovate their buildings, also for the PV installation, and of course all the policies. This is something that is very working model for all policy that we need to communicate with the citizens. And of course, at the beginning, when the policy is just accepted, or even if it's on the level of the communication and creation, decision-making process, we start with more specific message to the citizen using the different mass communication channels like the broadcast or podcast or radio, of course, the standard newsletter, papers. In detail, when we start the second wave of renovation in Bulgaria with a 100% grant. This is one of the program that we implemented in the frame of the National Recovery Plan. This plan starts to, and the first draft of the rules and the requirements were known for us in 2022. The program started in 2024. But in February 2022, with the very first draft of the program, we start to engage the citizens in to prepare them that this is something that comes, that they should break their mind and maybe they will need to finance some of the steps during the application phase and after that. So we start the campaign in a very early stage. Of course, we are not a very concrete because this is the draft. And here the very important for the successful communication is to be honest, to say, okay, this is the draft. We are not sure that this will be the final version, that this will be the requirements. But if we are prepared, we are very flexible and easy to change some of the documents, for example, or the requirements. Of course, in the process of the developing this program, this plan, when we already reach and the people start to be more active, they start to look for information. We organize face-to-face conference meetings with stakeholders to engage them. Of course, again, we are not very confident because the program is written from the national government about the deep detail, what is necessary, how the implementation will be. But we prepare the people for, as we heard from the previous speaker about the benefits of the process, why they should join, what is the benefits not just for them, but also for the local community. And of course, this gives us a very important feedback. For example, what are their fears or what they afraid of in the future? What is the problem and the issues that they have? For example, if it's necessary to be funded or how to organize the process with the missing people in the multifamily building. Even we develop some guidance, let's say, about what is the certification for energy efficiency audit, because they don't know this very well, and they feel some uncomfortable when someone of the future companies come and say, okay, we need information for your apartment, for your building, when it's built, how it's going to organize the process in it, according to the heating, cooling, what's the bill you pay. And they say, why do they need this information? So we provide this information to them in advance to be prepared and to feel comfortable with this. This, on the other side, this gives us information about what is important to be prepared in communication flares, for example, or leaflets, and how to answer proper, because sometimes on these massive events, the people communicate gathering, and some of the people give the answer from the experience in the future, in the past, or something like that. So this is how we reach. After that, in the concrete with this second program for the renovation, we start more closely and focused participation discussion with the people that we already investigated and decide that they are interested to participate. For this, we use two instruments. The one is as a result from these meetings that we have on the seminar or the conference format, and the other one is from the previous data that we already have. For example, here, they are not a real picture, they are the picture from another event because I can't find, but in the same format, we organize meetings with the most active association of owners, because in 2015, we registered about 200 association of the owners in multifamily buildings, and we decide that they are the most active because they already make the first step. So we invite all of them in the, let's say, private meetings in which we already started to answer to the questions that they have or that we already identify as a crucial question. We even prepare a different scenario. What will happen if the program is 100% grant, or if they should pay something in advance. Maybe one of the very important things was to explain how the process goes, and also what is the capacity of the market. Because we have some feedback from the citizens, we will wait till the final version of the documents of the program and then decide what to do. But and in the future we see that we were correct. All right. In this case, the market, the business is not able to meet all the interest from the citizens, because it's not just in Gabru, it's on the national level. And we say, okay, we prepare for you 3 different scenarios. You should choose. The first one, for example, is to wait and do nothing. So your building will be the same. And maybe you will be one of the workers that the government will ask to do something for your building. The second scenario is to invest a small amount to be prepared for the application phase. And the third scenario is to be fully prepared with all necessary documents, so you will not be dependent on the market when the program is launched. On these meetings, we also prepare crucial information about how the process will be organized. And here our role was also important to provide some administrative support, not just to provide the information about the program, the expectation of the requirement documents, but also how to manage the process in the multifamily buildings, how to organize better process, and they will be better prepared. As a result, because I think it's not just to say what we've done, but what was the result. As a result, in the day, let's say, a program was announced from the government, we have already 36, I think, multifamily building prepared with all necessary documents, and they just apply for the program. And in compare with the other municipality, they just start on this moment when the program will launch, because they have not this community, they have not this contact and engagement with the stakeholders, and not just, as we spoke about the stakeholders, they are not just the citizens, but also the companies. So in this phase of communication and focused participation discussion with the citizens, we investigate some needs from the market. For example, we met 2 or 3 local companies that provided the services for energy audit, and try to simplify and also to make the same documents to use all these 3 companies. That's so the citizens feel they are the same, treated the same way, never mind which company is. And this also is always important. And the simplification of the process, I think, was for both sides, not just for the citizens, but also for the companies that provide these services. And of course, when we already have this readiness, and we, I'm so sorry for the presentation, there's some unfinished highlights. So we activated the people from this meeting that I explained with the face-to-face, but not the collective, but the personal meetings. We goes to the association of owners, and also not, as I started at the beginning, not in the administrative building of the municipality, but on their ground, on their side, because this makes them feel that they are important, not the municipality. They feel more a safe zone, let's say. And when we go there, they feel more free to share the program with the buildings, with their problems and challenges. and we also see how the process on this from their side is organizing. And of course, we already know and have enough information about the challenges, the issues that they met, and we try to answer individually. This is also important, this kind of meetings, because when we go to the citizens and their concrete building, let's say, we answer to the concrete question, but this not create the unnecessary question to the other buildings and people from other multifamily buildings. And they feel that they are important for us, and they're really important. At the end, and this is also very important from my side and from municipality, is to share, as we've heard from the previous speakers, it's very important, the best practices, of course, not just the best, but the study cases and the result. Because this is the very strong motivation. We try to create, as I mentioned, the community and also the citizens to share the result and the benefits from their side, not from our side, because this make the better trust and between with the policy and between the people and the stakeholders. Of course, it's not just from air to air, but it's also very important to have some visualization or some detailed fact sheets, etc. Here I decided to present that one of our last instruments or tools for communication with the citizens, and this is the 3-day picture of one of our neighbors, and I'm sure you can very clearly see the buildings that are already renovated, the buildings that are somehow or partly renovated, and these that are not renovated. So this is the very strong motivation for the people, and the proof for this is that in the neighbors where we already have some renovated buildings, the people are more active, because never mind what the governance and we as a local authority try to communicate, the communication between the people and the first-hand information much more important. As a conclusion, in this neighborhood that you see, we have several buildings that are already renovated, and in the new program that we implemented now, it's very important that from 8 buildings that are going to be renovated in this period in the next year, 4 of the buildings are from these neighbors. That's proof that the people have the communication between themselves even much more than with the local authorities. So they motivated each other, and when they see from their neighbors the result and the benefits from the renovation. Just as fact sheets, through this approach, I think Gabrovo is in the first municipality in Bulgaria that apply with 84 buildings for for this program for renovation with the 100% grant. And what makes me more proud is that for the new program that is with the 20% co-finance, we have 16 buildings supply, and this is the second municipality after the capital. Of course, the size of the capital city is much more bigger in Bulgaria with the application for the co-finance. This means that we engage the citizens not just because of the grant, but also because of the idea and the policy. And last, but maybe not least, it's most important, in Gabrovo, through this approach, we already established 2 energy communities for the electricity productions. with the same approach, with the same steps, and we create this community. The peoples are engaged and they are even able to invest their own money, not just to wait for the any EU or national or local policy to give them free money. So I think that this is our approach, how to break the frame of the administrative communication with the citizens and a very formal communication. And I'll be happy if this information I provide in this 22 minutes is interesting for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Popov, for this motivating, I believe, presentation. It was really great to hear how Gabrovo works with local stakeholders to make the renovation projects really successful and also long-lasting. This is an example how the collaboration should look like, and that the change cannot be done only by the local authorities, but also we need to engage local communities. Thank you very much, and let me go directly to our next speaker, because we have one more speaker for today's conference. Our final presentation will be presented by Mr. Jan Ruszkowski from the Renovation Wave Association in Poland. He will show us how energy classes for building can be used to guide and support renovation programs. Without any more delays, Jan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, actually, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jan Ruszkowski. I'm a managing director of Renovation Wave Association. For those of you who's not familiar, it's a business association of various companies, various branches, various technologies, with one common mission and one common part. They all advocate and enable improving energy renovation, both speed of this renovation and quality and complexity of this renovation. Thank you very much for inviting me for this event to share our thoughts on introducing actually energy classes in Poland and their potential, of course. The title of all this event is From Policy to Practice, and energy classes and energy performance certificates in general are something extremely practical when it comes to renovation, building renovation. As Marcin from City of Warsaw mentioned, it's a great feeling to be the first, especially with introducing Warsaw Green Buildings Standard. Other cities will follow, but they will not enjoy being the first. But it's not the great feeling to be the last, neither to be last speaker, and especially not great to have a feeling to introduce energy classes as the last country in European Union, and which is the case in Poland. It's not a great feeling at all, but it's better late than later or never. So right now we are introducing it in Poland. We are about to, and we may have a chance at least to take advantage of lots of experiences from other countries and best practices. So maybe it will be our advantage. Let me share my presentation. I will try to be brief because I see we are running out of time. Do you see it right now?
Yes, I see.
Great. Speaking about energy classes, I will speak also about energy performance certificates because they are linked to each other. So I will give you the brief overlook how it looks like in Poland and what's our challenge. About this being practical, energy classes have a great potential, great purpose. Actually, three purposes. First of all, they are very practical because they are useful. They are supposed to determine. They help us determine our energy requirements of our apartments, homes, our offices. So they are just useful. They are educational as a second part. They increase awareness about energy efficiency, about saving energy, about how much it costs, how to use it wisely. And third of all, they promote, they influence the market. They influence the market of selling and renting apartment. They make us feel that it's not only the cost of purchase, but also it's the operational cost that matters. It doesn't matter if we buy a building or rent it. As I mentioned, we don't have energy classes in Poland yet. We are about to introduce them. We are very close to this moment. But as I mentioned, I will tell you a little bit about energy performance certificate system, how it looks in Poland right now. Handful of data. In Poland, there are roughly 35 million people. We have roughly 14 million buildings. Half of it is residential. EPCs were introduced theoretically in 2009, but seriously, in fact, only in 2023, when severe fines were upon those who failed to provide them. Right now, there are about 45,000 authorized and registered certificators who can issue such a certificate, but approximately only 300, let's say, champions, those who issue more than 100 certificates a year. Right now, we have 2 million registered certificates. Only 0.1% of them are rejected from the system. And right now, we have from 60 to 70,000 new certificates every month without energy classes so far. So energy classes not yet. I wonder if you imagine how many staff in our ministry is controlling this EP system. I bet you wouldn't guess. It's one person and it's part-time. So we don't know much about the reliability of those documents. Briefly about shortcomings, we have no energy classes. We have sort of slider on them, which shows you on the scale where your building is and where it's supposed to be. It's complicated, vague, doesn't serve its purpose. We use wrong indicators, unfortunately. We don't use total primary energy indicator, but indicator that is easy to cheat, let's say. It's only primary energy that refers to renewable energy, which can be overcome by using biomass furnaces, heating sources. All this energy per this slider and this EPCs were introduced without an educational campaign, so people actually are not sure what they are for. Right now, their value is a waste value, actually, because they are treated only as a necessary burden for those who are selling a building or renting it. So it doesn't serve the purpose it has in the first place. So right now, the certificate market is flooded with fake, low quality, you name it, certificates that are reachable for 30, 40 euros. Whoever knows the methodology of preparing such a certificate, it's a tough tough and tedious work of it's issuing it for 30 euro gives you a reflection how reliable it is. I mean, there are of course some calculators, some software that helps issuing such a certificate, but such a software always spits out some result. But we all know the saying: garbage in, garbage out. Whatever you feed them, this is the value of what you receive. But together with those shortcomings, there are opportunities. Right now, we are about to introduce new certificates with energy classes, of course, with new readable design. We are forced by European Commission to use better indicators. We'll see which will be used. They will have new purpose. They are not only serve the educational purpose, let's say, but they will be the base of the financial support, which is a very critical role they will have to play. This is the huge importance because significant public money will depend on the quality, on the reliability of this system. This is the place, and other opportunities which we will not have time to discuss right now. So the energy class is something very easy, intuitive, will be introduced, but it has to be done very carefully. One remark, Einstein supposedly said that everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. I love this quote because to me, it's true, especially when it comes to public support schemes for building retrofitting, which should be, no doubt, as simple as possible, but it cannot be this simpler because if we simplify it too much, the results are tragic. I will give you a overview. What's the result in Poland, where the support schemes were introduced, neglecting energy performance standards in support schemes. So we had no energy classes. The awareness of energy efficiency importance was low. The support schemes were ill-conceived, were populist. They were not based on physics of the structure of the building. So huge phase right now were unfortunately wasted. There's lots of abuse and chaos, and I don't have time to play you this, but you will have this presentation. You may click it. It's lots of tragedies were as an effect of introducing financial programs that were not based on energy performance of buildings, that were giving out money without securing people, making sure that they reduce the energy demand of their building in the first place. So as you can see, there are only few pictures how it, not always of course, but sometimes it looked this way. There were heat pumps installed in what we call energy vampires. And of course, it resulted in a heat pumps market collapse because when you install heat pump in a building like this, what you receive is mostly a bill of horror, let's say, huge bills for energy, for electricity. And you can see the heat pumps were quite popular in beginning of 2023. The market collapsed, and regaining this trust to this no emission technology will be very difficult to regain. So yeah, so this our program, this support scheme for single family houses has to be suspended, and it resulted with a loss of confidence in public support. So we decided to make analysis, to provide it to the authorities, how actually, if we are about to introduce energy class system, how it can be a dream tool to use when we build any support programs for building retrofits. You can download it from our website. As I mentioned, you will be delivered. I guess you'll be provided with this presentation. So it's in Polish, but today with AI, it's no difficulty to translate it and get familiar with that. So first of all, we went through best practices in several European countries. I will not have time right now and to go through all of them in detail. I will just show you what we saw as a, let's say, common part in all these all these countries, we went through, we analyzed support schemes, support program that were addressed to improving energy efficiency of buildings, and they all naturally share one common part. They are built on somehow on energy efficiency that is expressed either on energy classes or indicators showing this and energy consumption. In France, one of the biggest program, it was building on the subsidy you're getting is based on energy classes double-checked before and after. In Ireland, the same. They have very complex, let's say, ladder of those classes, as you can see. But also the scheme was based on how big leap you do, how big improvement you do with your house using public money. It's something easy, understandable, and this is how such programs should look like. In Germany, it's complicated, more complicated, but it also the subsidies, the level of it, of loan and subsidies depends on energy standard, comparing to some reference building. And of course, there is another bonus for age class, which is the lowest. Denmark, my favorite. I have no idea how to read it, but the same. But the same. It's actually addressed only for 3 worst classes of buildings. In Swiss, no energy classes, but the percentage, the percentage of this improvement of energy efficiency. In Austria, the same. So in Belgium, also they introduced something that we would call minimum energy performance standards for buildings. It's always also based on energy performance. In Spain, the same. Both the intensity of subsidy, is based on this energy performance leap. So they all have something in common. The money you get from the public money you receive to improve energy efficiency of your building is based either on number of energy classes you improve, or a percentage of energy consumption reduction, or both, or on reaching a certain level of energy efficiency and a certain level of energy standard of buildings. But of course, after all, at the end of the day, it's all checked and has to be confirmed on energy performance certificate of your building. So right now, what building directive is forcing us all European Union to have in common, we all need to have energy classes from A to G, optional A+. The distribution of buildings should be appropriate, equal, more or less. They don't have to be the same in every country. Every country has own specifics and have own classes. They cannot be compared to each other. We need to have a common template. It doesn't have to look the same, but it has to contain similar data. It should consist of recommendations for buildings owner, and no matter how many indicators you put on it, it has to show the annual total primary energy use and final energy use, which is the closest to showing how much energy your house, your building is using. And of course, renewable energy production on site, contact to one-stop shop when they appear. So in Poland, as I told you about this clean air program, our major, because with the biggest budget, the biggest program to subsidize, to support the renovation of single family houses. it was suspended in an emergency mode in autumn last year. It was, let's say, reloaded. It was reborn in April this year, and unfortunately without energy classes yet, because we don't have them. But it's a huge scale program. It addresses still 2.5 million buildings. So subsidies for approximately 2 million single family houses. And right now it has, unfortunately, to my deep belief, it's unprecedented amount of subsidies for individuals. It reaches up to 100% subsidies, which were one of the basic reasons of why it failed, actually. Because when people don't have to invest their money at all, they just don't give a damn. If they were to invest at least little of their own money, they would think twice about such investment. So right now, the formal requirements in this program, with no energy classes, they are based at least on energy utility and energy reduction by 40% and reaching certain level of energy standard. They also introduce rather harsh income thresholds. They're not for all of us. And they, as a rule, they need, the requirement is to have energy audit before the investment and energy performance certificate afterwards. So EPC is a crucial document that actually confirms if the public money are well spent. The thing is the coincidence, the consultation. So where you have huge subsidies, there are of course huge temptations. That's why EPC's credibility is crucial, as I mentioned. By accident, the public consultation of new EPC methodology and form of it and energy classes system, the consultation just ended at the end of June. They were actually twice consulted, and maybe it's not the end. But to our surprise, for example, there are 2 energy classes actually proposed. I'm praying that it will not happen, because it's a tragic idea to have 2 energy classes instead of having something intuitive that and easy to understand. People would get a certificate whether your building can have A class on the left and F class on the right, and you wouldn't know if it's good or bad. So it's still under consultation right now, but finally we will have them in Poland. And the biggest question is which energy consumption indicator we will base it on, because primary energy is not the best one. What they propose in Poland is energy net. I have no idea how to translate it. It's energy delivered net energy delivered. So it's energy delivered to your house minus what you export, for example, from photovoltaics. How to fix this EPC's market right now? We need to, first of all, correct those indicators we use on those certificates. We should have a correct even division of our buildings into energy classes, because the first proposal was
Wiesz co, sprawdziłem, że mam telefon do ciebie i działa, a przyczyna
someone
taka, jak się
is making a competition.
to, że...
Thank you. Thank you. So first of all, the buildings has to be divided equally into energy classes, so that if you improve your energy standard of your buildings, you can see clearly that your building is 1 or 2 or 3 classes higher. And of course, the governmental or I should say intergovernmental cooperation, because this is something that involves much more than one ministry. But this relates to the document itself. But what we need to do, and what we need to do, all of us, also the first sector, second sector, the private sector, and NGOs, is it's the education about EPCs, about energy classes, what they are for, what they actually what they gives us, and we have to be damn sure about the credibility of those documents. We do need much more effective verification system. I don't know if it's more staff or improved verification schemes. Maybe we need to change our law and change the schemes when we are supposed to flag such certificate and have it checked. But this is something sort of on the level higher. I would love, of course, to hear your suggestions, your hints, conclusions, remarks from your countries, either now or drop me email. I'll be delighted to discuss. And of course, yes, this analysis is downloadable from our website. And if you have any other questions, suggestions, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for showing how this energy class system can be used to improve in overall and at the end the renovation efforts in Poland, and to underline the importance to work with this system. If there are some questions, please put them in chat right now, as we are finishing our conference today. I would like to thank all of you for being with us today. We, I believe, had a very rich and diverse set of the presentation from the multi-level policies and strategies to very practical solutions. We learned a lot about the barriers to effective building renovations in Central and Eastern Europe region, but also we heard some opportunities how to what could be done differently, whether it could be done by develop stronger policy or using better data, or creating one-stop shop, or building green standards like the one in Warsaw. Even though that we went a little over time, we hope that all of you found this little discussions and presentation very useful and inspiring. We will share the materials of this conference with registered participants shortly after the event, probably on Monday, as we are at the end of the week almost. Thank you once again, also to the third, for joining us, for preparing the presentation and sharing your knowledge, your experience with our audience, made from those who want to have the renovation more successful and more effective. If you have any questions, there is the last chance. If not, I had the pleasure to finish this conference, and thank you all once again, and see you in the future in our different events. the contact details to our speakers you will also find on their presentation. So if you would like to have more time to go through the information presented today, you will have time. And if you would like to keep learning, you will have this chance to contact with our speakers or through, for example, websites. Thank you once again, and see you soon.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.